Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks again, Pastor Derek Simon, for the opportunity to come and speak about leadership. I'm speaking on the topic of spiritual leadership. There's a few areas that I'll be covering with you all. My name's Craig Gooden. I'm an elder at the Wensfield Seventh-day Adventist Church. Also serve on ASI UK as the VP for chapter growth. And there's a number of areas that I've been involved in over the years. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and just a brother in Christ. So I hope that that will um, just be a point. Derek, how I don't like doing these big introductions, but we here. It's a privilege to be amongst you all. Now, if I'm correct, all of you are involved in some form of leadership in the youth or the teens department. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to say again, hello to the youth director, Mr. Derek Simon, and the teens director, Horace Radcliffe. Good to see you all. Yeah, I saw that swift smile, Horace. It's good to see you. So without further ado, I'm going to go into the presentation. I'm aware that you've had presentations already. I'm hoping that this presentation won't be too long. I'm just going to try and share my screen. Make sure that this works. Can you all see that there?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just explain that with regards to the presentation, if you've got questions and we don't have time to answer everything, if you put your questions in the chat and I'll see if I can pick those up. But what I'm going to do is go through the presentation. If there's anything that you don't quite understand or you need me to explain, stop me and just say, look, can you just explain that point a little bit more? And we can go over it. If not, I'm just going to go through the presentation and then we can take questions afterwards. I hope that will be okay for everyone. I'm just going to open with a word of prayer and then we'll delve straight into it. So let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for the opportunity to be here to share this presentation on spiritual leadership. There's elements that I've shared with people before, and there are some elements that I hope all sections of the presentation will be of benefit to everybody who's present in this youth leaders training. So thank you again for the opportunity, and I pray that you will continue to strengthen Pastor Derek Simon and Aris with the leadership of the youth and the teens, and ultimately with the leadership of everybody who's here as they impact the local churches and their neighborhoods. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, now leadership. Some people view leadership as in different ways. In the book Acts of the Apostles, we're counseled that it's a solemn responsibility. Solemn are the responsibilities resting upon those who are called to act as leaders in the Church of God today. If you are responsible for looking after a group of individuals, leading out of programs, or leadership responsibilities for the church, the conference, or even at home, or wherever you are in the workplaces, you are covered underneath the area of leadership. And there has to be an element of humility and walking before God as you seek to lead wherever you are. Now, in the book Education, one of the things that outlines and helps now, actually, before I go on, I'm finding that as I'm traveling around the churches and I'm speaking, that people don't necessarily have access to all of NY's writings. Is there anybody here who does not have the free access to all of her writings? Okay, because if you don't, I just want to encourage you, you can download it for free, whether you're using iPhone or if you're one of those unfortunate users of the Android, you can download it for free. It's there available to all of you. Use them. It's there. All right. Education, page 262. In your leadership, success in any line will demand a definite aim. So you need to know what you're working towards. You need to have your goals and you need to focus towards them. It says, he who would achieve true success in life must keep steadily in view the aim worthy of his, and I'd add her, endeavor. Such an aim is set before the youth of today. That covers all of you. You have to have an aim before you that you can keep steadily in view and focus on, so that when distractions come from the left or the right, you should be able to keep focused on the aim that you're working towards. This is why Nehemiah, when he was working on the rebuilding of the walls, when Sanballat and Tobiah and all of those others came, he said, look, I'm not going to get distracted with what they're doing, because he was focused on building those walls. He had a definite aim, and it was even fulfilled in prophecy. So keep that aim before you, all of the young people who are here today. The heaven-appointed purpose of giving the gospel to the world in this generation is the noblest that is the noblest appeal to any human being. It opens a field of effort to everyone whose heart Christ has touched. So ultimately, the whole work of what we're supposed to be doing should work towards the sharing of the gospel in many of its different elements. Everything that we're doing should work towards the sharing of the gospel and the empowerment of individuals to grow closer to Christ. Now, for myself, my leadership experience over the years, I'm a husband, and trust me, being a husband, a father requires leadership, but not that type of leadership that you might be thinking of, where you say, oh, you have to listen to me. That don't work well in the home. The leadership that works well wherever we are is a servant leadership. My wife, she's from Suriname. And she told me, there's a text in the Bible where it says that Sarah would call Abraham Lord. And she said in Suriname, the way that they speak to their husbands is that they would call them Masada. And it means, she said that, she described it to me that it's the same way that Sarah would call Abraham Lord. So I was like, oh, that's great. My wife's going to call me Masada, and, I'm going to have the Abrahamic type of experience in the home. And got married, and she didn't call me Masada, and I was like, what's going on? And I thought, it's not something that you tell somebody that I have to call you. But there was a time I was preparing food, and she was coming back from work, and I had everything laid out. The food was ready and everything, and she walked in, she looked at me, and she said, thank you, Masada. And I was like, yes, I've made it. But then I went into the kitchen, and I thought, you know what? There's a big lesson I learned from that moment. One, you can't force people to see you as a leader. Two, leadership is revealed through your sacrifice, and you're willing to serve and help others. And in that moment where I realized, yeah, I'm helping my wife, I'm doing what I can to be there for her, it showed me there's an element of leadership that's recognized and spoken of by those recipients of your labor and work and service, that's appreciated. You have to think, as a leader, am I doing my work in a way that the church, the people, can appreciate and see that I'm here to serve them and not to force them to agree to my ideas or the plans that I've got? Leadership is powerful when you serve first. So yeah, I'm a husband, I'm a father, and a son of God. I'm your brother in Christ. I joined the church in the year 2000. I was born in the church, I was blessed in the church, and I left the church, went the ways of the world, came back in the year 2000 after some study and realization that Jesus Christ is the best person to follow. And then I was involved in a number of other departments. So starting out quite early on into my conversion, I got involved in the youth advisory for several years, working firstly under Pastor Palmer. Excellent time with him. Excellent leader. And as you know, he's our president. So is a man that I know you can go to and speak to. And he helped me in those early development stages of my life as a Christian. So I'll always appreciate what he did. Worked with Pastor Hush. And it was a good time over those years. I've also been involved in youth team leadership in the local church, religious liberties, later on eldership, which I'm still doing now. I was the Peace, which was a school of evangelism that ran up until last year. We had a fantastic time. Served as an outreach coordinator, which saw me involved with young people, getting them, and older people, getting them out there on the streets, reaching out, giving Bible studies, just trying to encourage them to take that back to their local churches. And later on, that role changed into being a director, where I had a different experience during that center of evangelism, where I was no longer super close to the students, but saw the need to work with the team on a different level across the scale, and that was really interesting. It was a great time, and I'll always look back on those moments as a great time working for the conference. I've also served on GYC Europe as a president for just under 2 years, and then I passed that over to somebody else who I mentored, and I saw that would be really good for them to take on. And I'm now serving as a vice president of chapter growth in ASI UK. And what I'm seeing is that within the area, as a lay member, but also leading out in this area to encourage lay-led evangelistic initiatives, there are elements of leadership that I've gained over all of the years that still are effective and are needed, even in these areas. So I want you to understand that to be a leader doesn't mean that you have to be a pastor or that you have to be working for the conference. It doesn't mean that. If you're going forward with God and you're trusting in him with everything that he's telling you to do, and he's giving you a role and responsibility to lead out in, everything that he's outlined in the Bible regarding leadership is important for you. I hope that makes sense to everyone. So here, I want to go over some points looking at universally desired attributes of leadership. So across the world, these are things, elements, or characteristic traits that are desired to be seen in leaders. They want leaders to be trustworthy. I'm not going into no governmental discussions today. Some of you may have voted for people and I can't trust them, they've changed. But the same can be said even in our churches. People are put into position and they don't do what they said they were going to do. People want leaders who are trustworthy. They want leaders who have foresight, who are positive, confidence builders. So they encourage the people around them to have confidence. They want leaders who are intelligent. They want leaders who win-win problem solvers, the problem solvers. So they'll figure things out and they'll make a solution, come to its resolution and be good. They want administrative skilled leaders. They want leaders who are excellence oriented. So everything has to be great. You have to have an excellent approach to everything. They want leaders who are just, meaning good. They are honest people. They want leaders who can plan ahead. They want leaders who are dynamic, motivational, decisive, communicative, or in other words, they will communicate their ideas in a way that everybody can understand them. They want leaders who can coordinate, be honest, encouraging, motive arousers, dependable, effective bargainers, informed team builders. And that's from Northhouse 2006. I think it was a paper on leadership, a book, page 323. Now, I just want to ask a question. Do you think everything in this list is according to God's way or God's desire or God's ideal for leadership? It's okay, you can speak, like, you can talk. Put your mics on.
I believe so. I believe if you put God first, all of those should come into play. It's just high expectations. If you have high expectations of God, you will have high expectations of his people.
Okay. Do you think that there's a danger that these could borderline go from being positive to being negative?
I think it depends on you as a leader, because at my church at Aston Newtown, I would say I have extremely high expectations, and I will be unapologetic for giving God high expectations. And what happens is the people that I work with know that. So, but I think people that don't know me, it could become negative. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. B Bar Bahira. And if I pronounce any name, let me know. It's fine.
Yeah, I think those attributes, you may not have all of them, but
Mhm,
if you in God, God qualifies the unqualified.
I love that. It qualifies the unqualified. Okay, thank you. Janelle.
I was gonna say that what Lay said just now, because sometimes we don't get everything listed just now right,
Mhm,
so what we need to look at, it's not about perfection, but it's about progress in the things that we do when it comes to youth, being training to be a youth leader. So like Lay said just now, God qualifies the unqualified,
uh-huh,
Sometimes we may not get everything right. And that's why we need to have a close relationship with God so he can tell us, okay, maybe you could do that way or maybe that other way won't work, So, yeah, we just gotta, kind of balance it in a way, but just it's slow progress is meaningful, So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Janelle. So look at these points here, right? God's requirements of a leader, the points that I've mentioned here are good desires and attributes that leaders should have. But let's just look at a few scriptures that look at what God desires for leaders, and then we're going to look at how we use those tools should really be used to motivate and to encourage, and how we should be communicating as leaders within the church. So Matthew 23:11, Jesus says, "But he who is greatest among you shall be your servant." So you can seek to do great stuff, but are you serving the people? I remember one time I was at a church where I was working as a Bible worker, and the church, I love preaching. Like, so I'm preaching there on the Sabbath, doing my sermons, and people come in, they shake your hands at the doors. Thank you for the sermon. I've been blessed, etc. The day continues. The next day they had a work day at the church. Those days where you go and you get down and dirty in the ground, you're digging up the weeds, you're painting the church, you're mowing the grass, you're doing everything that's needed with the members. And I remember I went there the next day, brought some tools with me, and I'm sat down and I was just enjoying pulling up the weeds and getting stuff cleaned up. And two of the church members came to me, two of the leaders of that church came to me and they said, "Oh, well, isn't this a shock?" I went, what do you mean? They said, "Finally, we've had somebody who's working here at the church come to actually serve with us." And I was like, wow. He said, "Now we won't just listen to you, but we know that you practice what you preach." And I learned that was an important moment for me, because it showed me that you can preach and do all of the great stuff at the front as much as you want. Unless you're serving the people, your leadership will be limited. So servant leadership is very important. He who is greatest among you shall be your servant. 1 Peter 5, verse 2-3. Shepherd the flock of God, which is among you, serving as overseers, but not by compulsion, but willingly, not for dishonest gain, but eagerly, not as being lords over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. Don't force people to do what you want. In fact, in leadership, you should have a team around you that you communicate with, and you have to be prepared that sometimes your plans, your ideas may have to be shaped and adjusted according to the way that your team sees things needs to be done as well. You can't force your team to do what you want them to do. That makes sense. And there's times when I've come into the team meetings. I remember when working with teams that covered uh, various areas of Europe, and you're speaking with different people from different cultures, different countries, and you're talking to them, and your plans, the way you communicate that to somebody that may be in Holland or Germany or Austria or in Iceland or wherever they are, the way you would speak to somebody in England may not be the best way to speak to somebody in another country to get your idea across. They view things very differently. And in fact, um, a book that can help you with understanding The zoom in, zoom out thing, blurring things not going to work great. Culture map, the culture map by a person called Erin Meyer, great book. It looks at different ways to approach different cultures. So the way that you share an idea to somebody in Germany may be very different to the way it should be shared with somebody who's from America or England or whatever it may be, because they view things different. We communicate different and we get ideas across in a different way. So you need to understand who's my team. What makeup is my team? If I've got an idea, how am I going to share that idea? And what's my vision? How am I going to get my vision across so everybody understands it and can be involved in it? So you don't force your vision. Your vision needs to be something that the team can catch and they say, yeah, I'm flying with this. I want to go all the way where this person's going, and I agree with it, but don't be afraid to challenge the idea. So you don't force, not for dishonest gain. Don't do things dishonestly, and be an example to the flock. So everybody who's around you, that team that you have, that little flock, that group that you're working with, be an example to them. Proverbs 11 verse 14, but there is no, where there is no counsel, the people fall, but in the multitudes of counselors, there is safety. It's wise for you to work with the group, that team that you have around you. And as a leader, have a multitude of counselors around you, maybe some elders in the church, maybe some of the deacons, it may be an older member who's been heavily involved in the church before. Have some people around you, friends, family members, people who you can talk to and ask and say, listen, spiritually, what's your thoughts on this idea? And take the knowledge from them. Those people are there for good reason. They are there to help you. Iron sharpens iron. So speak to people around you. People say, oh, yeah, that's just for leadership. Even before I was getting married, I was speaking to people of all kinds in the church. I was speaking to the people who had great marriages. I wanted to know what made their marriages great. I spoke to the people whose marriages were a wreck. And I asked them what broke down, what made the marriage bad. And they told me communication was a key. And not misunderstanding struggles. Listen, I spoke to everybody, the old people, the old heads are walking in there with their sticks, and you talk to them and listen, those people have a wealth of wisdom. So speak to the people around you, talk to the children. What do you want to see? What are you aiming for? Jesus loves speaking to the children. So speak to the kids and let them see what they've got to say, because you might be shocked. I did a children's story a few weeks ago, and asked them what do they want to become. Now they weren't saying, oh, I just want to go to school. They were like, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a doctor. And these were kids under the age of 9. And I was like, this was so amazing. Just to hear them talking about what they want to be. I want to be a builder. I want to do this. I want to do that. I was like, yeah, this is great stuff. They need leadership to help guide them. So a multitude of counselors. Exodus 18:21. Moreover, you shall select from all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness. All right, now I'll go through these points as I go through the list. The people who had those areas within their characters, God said, look, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, fifties, and tens. So they were placed in leadership who had these qualities. They were able men, they feared God, men of truth, and they hated covetousness. Why? Think in your mind, why is covetousness something to be careful of in regards to leadership? We'll look at that in a moment. 2 Timothy 3 verse 1-2. Is this clear for you all so far?
Yes.
I'm not going too
Yes.
fast.
Yes.
Oh, all right, cool. So 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 1-2. Paul was a mentor to Timothy. Listen to what he said. Look, this is a faithful saying. If a man desires the position of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop, a leader of the church, then must be blameless, husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, good behavior, hospitable, able to teach. So he's saying, look, with Timothy, you're expecting this. These are the requirements. You need to be blameless. You need to be family oriented. What you do at home is replayed in the church. And even before you're married, how you are as a son or as a daughter, or how you respond to your parents in the Lord, is replayed in the church. And if there are struggles that you go through, whether it's in family or whatever, not that doesn't disqualify you. Just stay faithful to God. So I don't want you ever to feel discouraged because things may not go well or you may go through a hard time. You can still lead for God just as long as you're the one that's been faithful to God. Okay. Titus chapter 1, verse 7 to 9. I'm just gonna A bishop must be blameless, a steward of God, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy of money. But you must be hospitable, a lover of what is good, be sober-minded, be just, holy, self-controlled, holding fast the faithful word as he has been taught, and be both able to exhort and convict those who contradict what you may say. So you need to exhort and encourage people around you. Psalms 78, 72. So he shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. So there needs to be integrity of your heart, and you need to guide by the skillfulness of your hands. Integrity of heart is shown by your actions. I went for an interview once, and in the interview, the manager, I had to go through 2 levels of interview. Now, in every interview, I tell the people I'm a Seventh-day Adventist and I keep the Sabbath. So from Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, I can't do any work. And I let them know in the interview so they don't waste my time and I'm not wasting theirs, and they can't give me any headache after I get the job because I've told them this is what I am. So I'm in the interview and I tell them what I am, and the person's like, oh, you can't work all day Friday. I said, no. So I thought, I'm going to have to explain sunset to this person. So I said, the moment it gets dark on a Friday to the moment it gets dark on a Saturday, I can't do work. I'm okay to work up to that time, and after that time, anything that I'm missing on that day, I can make up in extra hours throughout the week. Oh, okay, I understand you. He spoke to somebody in that company and said, we've got a problem. There's a person we're interviewing, but he can't work on Fridays after sunset. But he has high integrity. And I was like, the person came back to me because he was a church member, and they were like, Craig, I just want to let you know that this is what was said. But we challenged him back and let him know that you can't like discriminate him according to his religion. So I did get that job and I had a great time with the team. But what it showed me was that when you stand for something, people won't see you as being hard or struggling. They'll see that you've got integrity. So don't be afraid to stand for what's true. If you see that it's something that needs to be done, something that's going to help the church go forward, don't be afraid to stand for it. You're a person of integrity and God's skillfulness of your hands. Right now, one of the biggest issues that we're having in the church is that people don't know what their Adventist identity is. So if you believe that it's something that needs to be done, you go forward with it. At Wensfield Church, we've started up a prophecy and faith study, shared the idea with the elders, my team, and I've said, look, this is what I want to do, work with the team, and people are coming because they want to know. But communication is important as well. So you speak with everybody around you to say, this is what we want to do. But integrity of heart doesn't have to be so firm in a way that you can't be movable. It just means that you have an idea, you work towards it, and you focus on an aim. So here, look at this. So the requirements that we can take from those scriptures of a leader that we can align to that first list as well is 1, servant leadership is an attitude. So you need to serve in your leadership. Okay. If you're going to ask somebody to do something, be prepared to do it with them. Not by compulsion. You can't force people. Not for dishonest gain. The point I'm bringing out here is from the text. Don't be dishonest in the work you're doing, and don't have other motives in the background as to why you want to do something. Just be honest. Be examples in everything you do. Speak to the multitude of counselors. Have a group of people around you. You should be able men and women. In what you're leading, be prepared to be able to do it yourself as well. Fear God and reverence him. Be men and women of truth. Know who we are as Seventh-day Adventists and know what it means to be a leader in the church. Do you read the church manual? Do you know it? Do you share? Do you encourage your team to read the church manual? When we were doing some training for peace, we had some of the members, and one of the tasks was they needed to read through the church manual. Within a week, they came back and they were like, I didn't know that this stuff was in there. My members, some of the teams were telling, one lady was like, they've been telling me to do this at church for some reason, and I don't find it in the church manual, Craig. What am I supposed to do? I said, well, you need to go up and talk to them, because these people were saying, you need to do it because it's in the church manual. She said, Craig, it's not there. So my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You need to study and show yourselves approved. So go and read the church manual. What does it mean to be a youth leader, wherever you are? I hope that makes sense. Hating covetousness. The reason why covetousness is such a danger in leadership is because you will look at others and you will want what they have. And that's dangerous. Oh, it's so dangerous. I've heard people say, oh yeah, I want to be the next Mark Finley. No, why don't you just be you? Like, you can look at Mark Finley and say, what did he do to get to where he got to? I don't want to be him. I don't want to go through what he went through to get to where he is. Because that's his walk with God. I call it the Gehazi syndrome. Gehazi wanted the goods that the king was, that Naaman, not Naaman, that the king was bringing. All right. So you had the king come and he was like, yes, I've got these goods that I want to give you, Elisha. And Elisha was like, no, it's fine. You can take it. Take it. You can go. And then what happened is, what did Gehazi do? Can anybody tell me what Gehazi did afterwards? Come on, tell me. Come off mute. What did Gehazi do?
What was the question?
Gehazi with Elisha, and when the king of Syria was coming to him to be cleansed of his leprosy, what did Gehazi do?
Run up to him to get the goods.
Say that again.
Run after him to get the goods.
Yeah. He ran after him to get the goods. So Naaman's like, listen, got these goods. Elisha says no to him. Gehazi says, he goes and tells him another story. Yeah. My master will take them after all. He ends up taking those goods and hiding them. And Elisha goes back to him and he says, where have you been? Gehazi tells him something else. Then he says, hold on. Did you not know that my heart followed you? I saw everything that you was doing. And he says the leprosy that was Naaman's will now be yours and all of your generations. Covetousness in leadership can lead for your downfall. Do not look at what others have and desire to have what they have. Just lead and be faithful to God and do what you can do in your sphere. Do not compare yourself with others. Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Yes.
You just be faithful to God where you are. All right. So hate covetousness in leadership. Be blameless, the husband of one wife. In other words, your family environment is important for what's happening with your leadership. Be temperate, be sober-minded, be of good behavior, be hospitable, able to teach, a steward of God. Are you an upstanding, faithful member in the church? Are you returning your tithes and offerings? Are you a steward? How are you dealing with the health message for yourself? How are you stewarding your time? Don't become unhealthy and mentally unable to lead out because you're not stewarding yourself properly. So become a steward of God properly. I hope that's clear as well, because mental health is very important. Not self-will. Don't be focused just on yourself. Not quick-tempered. Not given to wine. There's elements of our health message that you need to be adhering to. I've heard people creeping in where people think it's okay to be a casual drinker. No, it's not. It's part of the baptismal vows. You don't do that stuff. Not violent, greedy for money, but hospitable, lover of what is good, sober, holy, just, self-controlled, exhort, convicting, etc. Is that clear for everybody so far?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
That list is helpful. Yeah, is that list helpful?
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
You share your PowerPoint after that, or
Oh, definitely. You'll have the PowerPoint, so you don't have to be worrying anything. Oh, I need to take notes and great. It's going to. Don't worry, you'll get the PowerPoint. That will be fine. I'll have that with you. I think I've emailed it already across, so you should have access to that when Pastor Simon hands that out. Okay, now leadership is an honorable ambition. Okay, honorable is a great thing to do. First Timothy 3 verse 1, Paul said to Timothy, it's a true saying, if a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good thing. But Jeremiah, when he was speaking to Baruch, said, do you seek great things for yourself? Seek them not. For behold, I am bringing disaster upon all flesh. In other words, Paul told Timothy, you want to be a bishop? That's great. Jeremiah saw Baruch wanted to be a leader, and he told him, don't bother. And the reason being was the motives that was guiding their desire for leadership. Baruch wanted great things, and Jeremiah said, don't do it because you're not going to have it. Timothy was willing to sacrifice, and Paul said, go forward. What's your desire for leadership? Christians must resist a certain kind of ambition and rid it from their lives. We must also acknowledge other ambitions as noble, worthy, and honorable. The verses that we read offer a warning as well as an encouragement. When our ambition carries out a burning desire to be effective in service to God, we realize God's highest potential for our lives, and we can keep both of those verses in mind and hold them in healthy tension. What that means is, as I'm walking forward in leadership, I'm using those verses to say it's an honorable ambition to desire to be a leader in God's church, but I should not be looking for great things for myself. And while I'm walking that, I hold those two in tension, and it helps me stay focused, if that makes sense. So don't be seeking something great. In fact, you need to think about what's your motive in service. What's your motive? And I'm not expecting an answer. That should be rhetorical. What's your motive to serve? So Ellen White says, shun the desire to become great leaders. She says it's those who accept the warnings and cautions given them who will walk in safe paths. Let not men yield to the burning desire to become great leaders or to the desire independently to devise and lay plans for themselves and for the work of God. I want to highlight the point she says, the burning desire. It will be a temptation for every single one of you to become great. And it's something that you need to shun, because those that I have seen who wanted to become great change. They just change. I've experienced that danger. And at times when you start to love what you're doing and you see, I'm going to do great things, it may be best to say, I'm going to let go. And it's time to hand that over to somebody else, and I'm there to serve them. So don't be afraid to say, it's time for me to let go of the reins and hand it over, or to say, look, I just need a break for a short while and get myself back in order so I can lead properly. So you need to constantly be going to God and saying, where's my heart? Is there any wicked way within me right now? Okay. And remember, Jesus says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So the honorable ambition of a leader is that you will have deep love for Christ and genuine concern for the church. If you keep those two in front as an aim, is this increasing my love for God? Is it helping my desire for Christ and my love for him to grow? And how is this going to help me fulfill my genuine concern for the church? At times you will feel that you can't lead and that you're not worthy to do so. That's fine. God says that he will help you, and with your weakness, in your weaknesses, he can be seen as strong. So don't feel that you can't go forward. If your name's been put forward for a position, take it to God in prayer and ask him to help you to fulfill it. But that doesn't mean that you take on everything that comes your way as well. You need to balance your time and know what you can or can't do with regards to any work you may be doing outside of the churches. So mentoring and empowerment, Jesus mentored the 12 apostles and left us an example. That's noted in 1 Peter 2, verse 21 to 23. Jesus left us an example. So in everything that you're doing, Jesus's pathway is the safest one to follow, okay? Paul mentored Timothy. He said, and the things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also. So as you lead, teach, let that teaching and guidance be seen amongst those that you're working with and commit it. Let that be examples that can be used to pass that guidance and empowerment onto others. Proverbs, iron sharpens iron, so man sharpens the countenance of a friend. 1 Thessalonians 2:11 and 12. As you know, how we exhorted and comforted and charged every one of you as a father does his own children, that you would walk worthy of God who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. So as you lead, seek to encourage, empower, and mentor those who are with you. How are you helping and exhorting and comforting those who are struggling? If you've got your team, there are times within the teams where people feel that they're failed. You've given tasks out and they haven't achieved it because of other issues that are going on. Don't let that person feel that they've failed. Let them know, let them see failure as a stepping stone to excellence. So the guy who made the light bulb, his name's gone from me for a moment. What was his name? Can you remember his name?
Edison.
Edison, that's Thomas Edison. So he failed thousands of times, and his whole team, their office, started to view failure as a stepping stone. Because of their attitude towards failure, we have light bulbs, we have generators, we have many more things that are around us, because they viewed failure not as something to stop them, but as something to say, how can I get past it? They exhorted each other, they kept each other comforted, and we have light bulbs today. Let's go on. Now, I found delegation to be a great tool that helps in the area of mentoring and empowerment. If you have a team, delegate to your team, place responsibilities upon others. Leading men should place responsibilities upon others and allow them to plan and devise and execute so that they may obtain an experience. Can I ask you, why else is delegation very important in regards to your own walk with God? Why is delegation important?
With delegation, sorry to interrupt. I can hear someone talking.
Yeah, somebody is. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you was talking, Hannah.
Yeah. Do you have any rubbish that needs to go in? Run, man.
No, Ethan, I don't have any rubbish that needs to go in the bin. All right, Cam.
Where's my plate?
As well.
Kuda. Who has their...
Your question was that about delegation,
So-
right?
Yeah, the importance of delegation. And I saw Hannah's hand was first. I don't think
So
she
yeah,
got
let
me.
me go.
Yeah.
Craig, you're the host, do you want to silence
Yeah, let
voice?
me try and find that person. I've got the screens a bit.
Ethan. And then we can go Cam, then Kuda, then Lorraine.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to start winding up soon, but hold on a second.
Yeah, I'm winding up. I'll be winding up in a moment.
Yeah. But you're currently the host, Craig. If you just want to make me the co-host,
Yeah,
then I'll
yeah.
get that sorted.
I've muted him now.
All right.
Yeah, so let me take these points quickly. Racy, Lorraine, Kuda. No, go ahead. Cam, I think you had your hand up too.
A short
let's start
answer. Delegation is important because this is how you collaborate with your team.
Thank you. Kuda and Hannah.
Right. So what's it called? Early in the presentation, you put the scripture from Exodus 18. And I remember that was when Jethro, Moses' stepfather, came to him and was like, yo, all these people are coming to you, it's too much for you. And, get some elders to to delegate, to lighten that burden on you, because as leaders, when you try and do everything yourself, you can end up wearing yourself out, and that's not only good for you, but it's also poor for the people that you're leading. So I think that's why Moses was able to take Jethro's advice and, have those people that were helping him and had the same philosophy as him.
That's right. That's right. Perfect. Thank you. Hannah and Lorraine.
I think that delegation is important because it motivates the people you're working with. They will feel like you trust them, and by giving them such responsibilities, and it helps with team working.
That's it. Excellent. Thank you. Lorraine and then Cam.
Yeah, just reiterating what everybody said, Joe. It's just about helping yourself, saving time for yourself.
Yeah.
Supporting, encouraging others, giving them trust to say that you can hand over something. So yeah, really, it's just about working as a team and relying on and supporting and inspiring young people to help out.
Thanks. Excellent point, Lorraine. Thank you. Cam?
Yes, delegation for me, I believe is great tools to use for training a young leader. Yeah, we can see Elijah and they follow up to see what the leader was doing throughout. They learn throughout, and give them build up the confidence, and they give them that little bit push to understand the gift and understand the work and how it works. And they give them that confidence when they're still in a comfort zone. And when the time will come, they'll be able to just do as Elisha did.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and that's fantastic. It's an excellent point. Thank you. Racy and Kuda, I see your hands are still up, but I know that you did speak, so I'm just going to continue. Encouragement. Delegation is important because it stops you from becoming too exalted within your own self as well. So seeing that there are others that you can work with will help you in that walk of development with Christ, to see that you're not the only one that's to do everything. You work as a team. It's a collective effort. So helping the inexperienced, those upon whom God has bestowed many talents, I'm instructed to say, help the inexperienced, discourage them not, take them into your confidence, give them that fatherly, that counsel, and teach them as you would teach students in a school. Watch for their mistakes, but recognize their undeveloped talents and train them to make a right use of their powers. So as you see them, people in your team, some may not be able to do some of the great things that you might be able to start with, but encourage them to develop and get to that stage. All right. I'm going to close off with communication and just some points that I'll let you know about afterwards. As a youth leader, how you communicate with your local church, your team, and the conference is important. Team, make sure that you arrange monthly meetings, be transparent with your schedules and plans, and be willing for your plans to change according to the work required and collective team decisions. As the local church, share your plan with the pastoral team. Use the seat that you hold on the board effectively. You can make motions and see that your plans are implemented at board and business meeting level. So make sure you're at the board meetings and you're at the business meetings. Set your yearly calendar, understand and use your budget wisely, and find ways to communicate plans to the church and raise funds also. So you may not have a great budget, but you can do things to raise funds for your department and for your team. Speaking to the conference as youth leaders, you communicate with the youth leader of the conference and the youth advisory representatives to keep them updated with what you're doing as well. Communication is the key to success in anything that you do, whether that's marriage, church experience, or wherever you may be. You need to communicate. And in everything, trust God. Those who are standing in the forefront of the conflict are impelled by the Holy Spirit to do a special work, and they will frequently feel a reaction when the pressure is removed. When that pressure is removed from you, don't let despondency take in. You need to continue and go forward and wait patiently and work closely with God.